Hello, lovelies, and welcome to Riding the Cosmic Tidal Waves. Tjoni with you here from In-SpiralOutLoud. Happy to be chatting with Colin Walker from the MenorcaConsciousnessGroup. Good evening again. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Tjoni. Lovely to see you. Looking forward to this one.
Oh, me too.
We're going to be tripping the waves, are we?
Tripping the waves, I reckon. And I love the backdrop that you guys have chosen for this. It's really beautiful. So
all Ava's.
Nice work. Yeah, nice work, Ava. Top job. So riding the cosmic tidal waves. How crazy has this latest let's call it the cosmic tidal wave of the moon, because I feel like that's kind of been creating a major sort of surge. I'm not usually too sensitive to the lunar cycles, but this one's been a bit of a doozy. So how's it been turning up for you?
Well, we'll use the most common word to describe things, which is the most ambiguous one: interesting. We all said that. Everybody goes, "How is it?" Oh, it's interesting. It's like, do you want to be more specific? It's isn't it? It's the we can clearly say the changes began. That is it. It's not 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago where we're saying it's coming, it's over there. Over there is now here. So, and this latest wave, what's been in, clearly has been very significant on many levels. We've seen internally, I should imagine, we can safely say the physical, the mental, the ethereal and spiritual levels, if we can say levels, aspects, are clearly been affected by this latest wave. And then when we look at the global aspects on the earth plane, we're seeing the political, geopolitical, military, religious, energies all kind of building into a bit of a crescendo. So yeah, this latest one's quite powerful, Tjoni.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying the same thing and similar kind of aspects. I guess the difference I'm seeing with this one is that these energy waves used to be quite subtle, and so you could kind of get a little bit of a sense of them, right? Yeah. But it's like now it's so full on, it's so powerful, and it's getting not just into the emotional and mental body, but it's getting into all of the bodies. And my experience of it, or my sense of it, is that we're really getting into it almost feels to me like in the past these kind of waves of whatever energies have been moving through, whether they've been local or national or global or universal, have been affecting us more personally. But what I feel like is happening now is that especially those of us that have been, doing a lot of the deep, emotional and spiritual kind of work, I feel like we've just hit another bit now that's so phenomenal. And it feels like we're hitting into more of the collective purge. And, I was telling you the other day, I was hit with just such a massive dump. Like I really feel like, I got dumped by that tidal wave, right? And it just like pulled me so deep into the ground. But I didn't really feel like it was a reflection of me. I felt like it was more that the aspects in my life that were pushing me into that scenario were pushing me there deliberately to get in and touch that deep collective, cosmic, genetic, ancestral, like all of the different levels of the patterning, and really getting pushed to purge those. And I remember somebody saying once that, we in a human body, our bodies are really alchemizing. We're alchemizing energies. And I felt like that's what was happening. This huge, big influx was just moving through me, and I was just absolutely floored, literally on the floor on my hands and knees, unable to move. But I didn't take it personally. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, interesting.
Dump is a good word for it. It is. Hello, Naomi J. She looks like the mother of Tjoni J.
I thought she was. How do you pronounce the name?
Nairi.
Nairi.
Nairi, yeah.
Ah, evening, Nairi. Lovely to have you with
Also
us.
pronounced as mum.
Hi, Mum.
Hi, Mum.
Hi, Francis. We're just going to say hello to Francis, and she's gone. Where is she? Pauline. Hi, Great Calm is Pauline. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Yeah, sorry, Tjoni.
Hi, ladies. welcome. Yeah,
Totally
so it really felt like the body was being put to work, you know, in the way that it's supposed to be. So yeah.
I think we can probably safely this is, as I'm saying, I'm going to be quite not loose or flippant over this, but there's every indicator that we're dissolving the identity. I think these waves can take us that deep, where they're washing the I away, they're washing this, what we've always identified with, and everything what belongs to it. And I think this latest wave has probably given us a little bit more proof and evidence of it. Also, when we're talking of cosmic waves, I think it's wise not to imagine that the cosmos is out there somewhere in the far distant region beyond the universe, even though that's still the case, but rather start thinking, okay, it's happening here. The cosmology is going on here within me, to my awareness and all those layers of our awareness. So when we get hit by a wave, for anybody what's probably, you've done this on many occasions, Tjoni, coming from Australia, for anybody who's stood in a ocean where there's been quite strong waves coming in, it takes your feet from under you. There's no stopping it. And it does, obviously, you know, depending where you're standing and what distance and how far out you're standing. For those who are kind of out there in the middle of the ocean, then obviously, clearly, they've got a surfboard on the feet and they're surfing the waves. Because I don't want to say that's the only way to manage it. And I know I'm kind of making light of it. In some aspects, I shouldn't, because that can be extremely powerful and put us on our knees. In that concept where we have to, once we're overwhelmed by that energy of a cosmic wave, off we go, we're down. And it's like we're diving deep into the ocean and the abyss of our own soul, so to speak, in order to find that most beautiful pearls. Because we know the deeper you dive into an ocean for the pearls, that's where the most beautiful pearls are found. So we find those pearls of wisdom within us when we're hit by a cosmic wave. But this particular one is it's exceptional, to say the least. And definitely we're going to be hit by a lot more, and possibly more frequent as well. So
I agree. It's a full body ragdoll. Oh, Francis, I get you. I know.
We know we shouldn't laugh, Francis.
Well, but we've got to laugh. We've got to not take it too personally. It's like, well, do you laugh or you cry? You know, all of it is about moving the energy, right? So we can laugh with each other, not at each other.
Yeah.
But you know, there's an aspect to this that I was doing a training with a guy a while ago, just an online training, and he made the point of that once you decide to start the process of clearing yourself on those various energy levels, especially to the point that any, you know, potentially nefarious energies and so on out there are going to notice you. They're going to notice you. That, you know, once you start that journey, you can't actually put a toe in. You can't just put a toe in the water and then get out again. You've gone too far. And, you know, his examples of that were things like, you know, if you can't start doing the spiritual healing and then keep drinking alcohol, because, you know, all of a sudden you've become a beacon of light to these guys. And as soon as you're, you know, out of your central nervous system and not fully engaged in your spine, they're going to take advantage of it. So, you know, we can't. Maybe a few years ago we could have stepped into it half-heartedly, but now I feel like we can't. We have to be all in. And so I like the analogy of, you know, really getting washed out to sea. I mean, we have, you know, big rips in Australia, and I'm fortunate that I've never been caught in one. But, you know, they say that, well, what do? You can't fight against it. You just exhaust yourself and you'll put yourself in great danger. So you need to relax and you know, either let it carry you out until you've reached the end and then go sideways around it, or just start swimming sideways and until you know, circumnavigate it. But to fight it, it's a losing battle. And so I kind of feel like that's it with this collective purge. We can't fight it, and if we are getting pummeled, you know, being on our hands and knees, it's really the most secure place to be. It's really quite humbling, and so it's quite freeing to be able to be in that space of being, on one hand, like almost kind of completely obliterated by something, but on the other hand, being quite free of it, just with the understanding that it's not that personal. You know, it's just the body's just alchemizing this right now. That's it. So you know, it's okay.
It is. I mean, there's so many points. As always, it happens, doesn't it? Once we start talking, that's it. There's loads of points. So I'm just going to try and grab about 3 of them. Well, the first one is, I totally agree with the aspects of resistance. Definitely, 100%. I think it's a huge problem what we all have until we face it, or we become aware of it, recognize it, then we can adapt and change to it, which is the mind often is comfortable within its space. Almost we can say often the mind is secure within its own insecurities. So it's in a comfort zone. And then it gets hit by a wave. It starts, you know, everything starts wobbling all over the place. Literally, it's been thrown into the ocean. It's got to start to learn to swim when we're swimming in cosmic energies. And it's futile to resist because it's flowing in a certain direction. So we know by resisting, we're going to use more energy. By using more energy, we're just going to become we're going to lose strength. What can be better served by swimming in that ocean, however difficult it might be at that time. Often, I've often said to people, sometimes the best thing to do when a wave is in is to go into your stillness, to go into neutral mode, because it can pull us down. It can pull the mind down so deep. And the other aspect, what you mentioned, which I think is very relevant, is on your hands and knees, and that word humble. I think, well, it's clear that in this transformation process with this cosmic event and these cosmic waves when they hit us, if we're not dealing and dissolving through our own free will, our own ego, the I, then that wave's going to do it. It's going to put us on our knees, and it's going to make us look at ourselves. And in that process of looking at ourselves, we know it's a purification, or we can call it in one way a purification of our thoughts and emotions. We know it's part of the ascension, expansion, etc. But the ego is getting washed at the same time. So because we've been living in a world where so much has been based on the I, the ego. I want this, I desire that, and I'm going to control whatever I can in order to get it, etc., etc. You know. So what we're saying with these cosmic waves, it's politely encouraging us to say, okay, I need to do some self-analysis here. And if I don't, that's going to make these waves are going to ensure that I do, because it's more powerful than what my mind is at this moment. And in learning to ride the waves, then we're doing the healing, the cleansing, the purifying, and dissolving the delusions which we've kind of what's manifested in our world, in our awareness, within and around our mind. So we can say clearly it's a cleansing process. And we're just using terminology, aren't we? We're using terminology to say waves, it's a wave. And so we go, okay, what is it? Is it an ocean? Well, it is an ocean of a sort, but it's energies, particles, atoms, subatomic, aspects, energy beyond what we can probably understand in its entirety. But in minimum, it's having a huge impact on our field of energy as a whole at this minute. So I just wanted to put them a couple of bits into.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it's so interesting the way that it does affect the ego actually. Yeah, that's right. Those waves of grief. Wow, they're massive, aren't they? And but what a beautiful cleansing is it actually to be able to feel that stuff fully and release it. Like I had. Like the way that it hit me, and it's funny that it wasn't just energetic, but then all of the different aspects of my world almost kind of conspired to bring this up within me of just feeling like a complete and utter failure, like on every level, and it was just like, oh my goodness, am I kidding myself? Like when you just like, absolutely tear away your identity and identities and take away all of the masks just to go what's left, it's like, it's really small, but also it's really huge.
Yeah.
But also in that process, we can go, okay, well, why is that? And for me, it was such a wonderful kind of opening of just going, well, why do I feel like a failure? It's because I'm trying to be the bits that I'm not, and because so many of us are working on our own now, working on our own businesses and things like that, and we're needing to wear many hats, we need to be a lot of the bits that we're actually not. And it's really hard work, right?
Yeah.
And so it actually forced me to understand that and to think, oh, right, okay, I've failed because I'm trying to be the left brain, directional management, neat, pigeonholed, super planned, ticking all the boxes, dotting all the I's and the Q's, like that person. See, look, dotting Q's. I mean, even grammar's not my thing, right?
Mine neither, Tony.
What is it? Cross the T's and dot the I's. That's the term.
Something like that.
And mind your P's and Q's.
Oh yeah.
School done on me wonders, mate.
Yeah. After that, I didn't learn anything. Oh, Chanda.
That's it.
Oh, sorry. If you're in a crisis, you should let yourself drift. Let go and trust the process. If you are energetically strong, you can actively ride the waves and decide in which direction you like to sail.
That's it.
Good point, Chanda.
Put your rudder down. Decide which direction you want to go and put your rudder down. And I guess that's what the bit is, isn't it? When we can undo all of the bits and question ourselves and come back to that kind of 0 point, center point, and decide which direction we want to go. It's like, well, what is my rudder? Let's hang out in the surfing terminology. What is our rudder and where do we want it to steer us? And I realized I was steering myself into a self-made cage instead of just doing the bits that I really enjoy doing, like hanging out and talking with awesome people like you guys, and sharing the ideas and inspiration,
Yeah.
Focusing on the bits that are joyful and effortless, and work smarter, not harder. Find other people to collaborate with that can do the rest of it. So, just being able to drop all of those other hats for me personally, like that was a huge gem for me out of that crazy full moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it show up for you?
Well, it's true, isn't it, Tony? It's because what we're doing, like you've made reference to the hats and the different hats you have to wear. it reminds me of this certain understanding that what we're actually doing is part of this whole transition. What we're actually doing is almost witnessing the washing away and total disillusion of the world we've known, and especially the materialistic side of the world, because we're noticing it so strong because that's been so prevalent in our lives, and it's dissolving, it's fading. I know that's up for debate with a lot of minds, but this is where I come from, because the indicators, we can say, well, are these waves actually all of a sudden going to stop? It's unlikely. Just like a tide and the ebb and flow of it. Until the waters, the tide is in fully, these waves are not going to stop. So they would say, okay, to what degree is the world going to change by the amount of tide, what's coming in? And it's got all the hallmarks for me and all the indicators that the material world is going completely. And yet here we are in this moment trying to figure out how to continue and thrive in a part material world and a part spiritual aspect of awareness, and trying to marry them two together. And I understand each individual faces the challenges of that in their own way. But when we look at it collectively, everybody's in the same boat, so to speak. Those who are still in the material way of thinking, what we may refer to as third dimensional minds, they're still happily going along with that world. But for those who are kind of in between this stage at the moment, then there's challenges with that. And then for me, I see like, okay, if something ripens and it's fluid, I'll kind of swim in that tide. If it's not, and there's too much resistance, I'm not touching it, because it means I'm swimming against the rules of nature. And I think part of what we're trying to, or the point we're trying to come to, is that fluidity of expansiveness, that all-pervading energy of what we are. And as all-pervading beings of energy, there can be no resistance. And if there is in any moment, we utilize it to project us forward rather than cling on to the past. It's like, it always reminds me of a stream, and you've got, the species is standing by the stream, and you've got some what's already in and they're riding on a surfboard and enjoying the ride. You've got those who are just kind of swimming in it. Some are almost drowning, but they're learning to swim. And then you've got those who are next to the bank and they're clinging onto it, and the stream's getting more and more rapid, and they're fighting for their lives to cling onto it. And it's like, you just got to let go of it. Let go of the sides of the bank, because it's not going to, it's just going to happen. And then you've got those, like said, they'll dip the toe in it. And you've got those who are not even in there. They're going, I'm not getting in it.
I'm not touching it.
So there's all these, that's right. There's all those variations. And each one of us, each individual is somewhere in that space. We can probably safely, without any arrogance or ego, say that merely by having this conversation, we're of the stream, and we're either swimming or surfing or doing whatever we're doing in it. And this is the same for the species. The species is going through this phenomenal transformation. And there's no stopping this wave, because it's part of the cosmic order, I believe. The cosmos is dictating things now, not a human mind. And that's the game changer. And in order to go along with cosmic order, we've got to be fluid and beings of emptiness. Because in emptiness, fluidity is a lot more gentle and softer and loving and kind, and all those wonderful things. And I've just started drifting, so I'm stopping there.
But just as you're talking, I'm thinking, like, I think I spoke to you about the idea of, you know, the splitting timelines, and that we've got to a point where, in order to be able to maintain free will of man, that we've got to a point where actually we are going to have two completely different worlds, essentially. And, you know, within all of that too, you know, people do have their own soul covenant as well, and some of them are choosing to be happy slaves.
Yeah.
And so I think that, hey Eva, and I think that, you know, part of riding the cosmic wave, and also like part of the just letting go, is of not being attached to other people's paths, you know, because, you know, if they're
Yeah.
going to be in the same basically slipstream as us, they will be, you know.
Yeah.
And if they're supposed to be and they need a bit of help being there, they will call out to us.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, just throw us a line, you know. But
Exactly.
you know, there's a lot of people that have, you know, made that soul choice to be in that other world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, it can be painful if, you know, especially if it's people that you love, that, you know, you want to bring them along for the ride, but it's like, but, you know, we can't. It's not our place. It's not our role.
It's surprising, isn't it? Because there's so much of these spiritual teachings and this spiritual journey, what comes back to acceptance. It's on so many levels, in so many ways. Because exactly like you said, Tony, you know, it would be nice if our family and friends was, you know, along for the journey. And that can be difficult for people, especially if some of the family and friends disagree with what you know, that mind is doing with itself on its spiritual path. But in that is the acceptance that, exactly what you've just said, the acceptance that their path belongs to them. Their soul has chosen this journey, and with compassion and love, we can find a knowing inside. If we believe what we're doing is correct for us, then what they're doing is correct for them. If we, I mean, again, we're almost touching on polarity, because we're referring to us and them type, or me and them type thing. So I'm cautious with it, but in order to express it and explain it, that's what's going on. So I accept wherever anybody is in any given moment. I must do, because what's happening inside me is dictating the same thing. So I can't then go into that mindset, well, I'm okay, right, you lot should be joining me. You know, who am I to say that? It's like ridiculous. The ego's kicking in straight away as soon as we think in that way. You know.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to my opinion.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Shall we say hello to a couple more people?
Yes, please.
Ava's joined us. Hi, Ava. Lovely to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. And Lynn. Thanks, Lynn. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Ava.
Great to see you. Now then, Francis. She said, for me, it's similar to the waves of grief. Thank you, Francis. You have to just let them roll. Trying to fight it or control it is hopeless. Yeah, there's a profound similarity. It really is. Because it's all about waves of energy, isn't it? It's about wavelengths, frequencies, and vibrations, all connected to energy, whatever form it's, whether it's in the form of grief, whether it's in the form of letting go process and unfolding and doing the shadow work. These are all connected to waves of energy, what we're kind of riding and transforming, probably the best thing. And Pauline, yes, definitely a time for being aware of self-care. I agree with that one, Pauline. Definitely.
Yeah, especially tending to our fragile little human hearts. And, you know, I think that's one of the big things as well. I was going to touch on, you know, okay, well, so how do we even ride this huge cosmic wave? And I think one of the things for me is being the micro and the macro, and being the huge expansive being, but then also like just being kind to ourselves, because we're still in these like tiny little human bodies with these fragile little human hearts, and with, you know, all of these layers and layers of programming and neuroses and fears, and so we need to be compassionate with ourselves. And yeah, so the self-care is just so is so important in that. You know, we can't be too hard on ourselves, you know. Acceptance, detachment, and letting go have been my key themes for the last few years. Yeah, I hear you on that, Francis. Me too.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way you've just put them three together, Francis, that would be brilliant advice for anybody on the path. I actually carry them three inside me most days in awareness of them, because we see them on so many occasions on our path, on a daily basis. So beautiful, Francis. Definitely. I think, just going back to what you were saying, Tony, I'm tempted to use the word singularity, because that it's two sides, the negative, positive, right and wrong, etc. Having that compassion, being gentle with oneself is ultra important. That can't be stressed enough. Being any form of guilt is one of my big ones, because I know guilt can create so much damage mentally and emotionally to somebody in their mind, on lots of different levels. I actually think guilt is an illusion, what we've created ourselves as a result of the ego, trying to get us to constantly, you know, bring us down and hold us in a dark space, so to speak. But what should we do? How do we get by in this reality where waves are constant now? And the singularity for me is stillness. It's neutral. Moving the mind or keeping the mind when it's necessary or needed in a neutral position within us. That's our center point of alignment, so to speak. And then as the waves hit us, the rights and wrongs will reveal themselves anyway in any given moment. And then from that neutral place, we're going to be moved into the, you know, to the different sides of our thoughts and emotions in that given moment. And once we've dealt with it and analyzed it, transformed it, dissected, whatever we do with that energy, we feel that bit lighter, and we come back to the neutral space. And the neutral space, in a way, is almost, we can say, the middle ground, but it's also almost empty. It's like we're keeping our mind empty, because in emptiness is where the purest or deepest peace abides. As soon as we step out of that framework, the mind gets a little bit turbulent, you know, and then the distractions, gets drawn into dramas or etc. It goes off on this kind of tangent of looking at the world and thinking, okay, what on earth do I do in this place? So we go, let's keep into that center point of awareness, and view the point from that position, using the word what Francis just referred to, detachment. Because in a way, we've got enough on our plates, even though we're interconnected to everything. We've got to take time for ourselves in order to ride these waves, and so on.
Yeah, I agree. I like the word non-attachment as opposed to detachment, because detachment itself can kind of be a little bit cold, whereas non-attachment is kind of still being in something, but not like grasping onto it. It's just a slight subtle difference. But just as you were talking, Colin, the word trust kept coming up to me as well. And, you know, when we learn how to trust our bodies to heal themselves physically, you know, we can just let ourselves have rest and just know that our bodies have this innate wisdom in order to bring themselves back to, you know, a physical equilibrium. And I think we need to trust ourselves as alchemizers of energy, that if we just sit still, like you say, and just be absolutely present to what is, we don't really need to get that fancy with it. You know, these these things are these incredible machines, and I think we don't really fully grasp just how complex and masterful they actually are when it comes to transmuting energy. So, you know, just being still, and you know that thing. Nonna, one of the guides that I was kind of listening to a lot when I was in Australia, she brought through this piece once about the gateway of boredom, and saying, you know, as soon as you start to feel bored, well, what do we want to do with that? We want to fill it with a distraction. But she said, actually, most of the time, if you can just sit in the boredom, just similarly to kind of like detoxing the body by, I don't know, fasting or something that, you know, actually can be pretty uncomfortable, but if you just let the body do its thing, it will heal itself. Similarly, if we can just sit through boredom, quite often some really quite uncomfortable stuff can come up that if we just stay with it, and staying with it can actually feel like, you know, trying to shovel, I don't know, rocks and stones. Like, it can actually be such hard work to just fortify yourself enough to just sit still. Like, that's really hard work.
Yeah.
You know, these yogis sitting in a mountain meditating for 20 years, that doesn't look easy to me. That looks like a cast iron grit. You know. So yeah, I think really just trusting ourselves. You know, we are our greatest healers, and we are incredible healers of the planetary energies and collective energies as well, if we just give ourselves a chance.
Yeah, Tony. I think we're looking at these tidal waves. What's coming in? Like this tidal wave, this recent one, and the ones before it. Like you say, the ones before. I would agree. They were subtle. They was more subtle. I mean, observing, feeling, and sensing, and working with waves of energy now for such a long time. I've got charts and maps where I kind of observed them as I was, well, not observed them, I was experiencing them and writing them and drawing them on these huge charts on a wall, and following the peak and the flows and what was going on personally, energetically, different, you know, areas of on the normal levels, and watching also what was going on in the world. And it's really surprising to see the effect which followed when a wave was in. They would always stir something specific up, on different aspects of, especially of global events. So for many years, I used to have these charts and swap them over, put some fresh paper, and write again as, you know, one come in. And the duration of them, just like a wavelength, there was a space in between. At one point, there was at least 2 years before, from one big wave to another big wave. 2 years, I was observing, watching every day. I was feeling all the others and the, you know, the heights and depth which I was working at. But that 2 years over the last 30 years has come down. Now we can safely say the tide is into a certain point, and the duration, the distance between the waves now is significantly less. They're getting more regular, so to speak. And there's still the big ones will come in. So it went from 2 years to 18 months, 12 months, down to 6 months, you know, as 30 years passed. And now we're at the point where we can say there's waves in constantly now. For many people, the waves are in and they don't even notice that they're in, because the work is already being done, what was meant to be done on those at that, you know, at that time, or at that frequency of those waves. And yet when the big one comes in, like this recent one, it can still be overwhelming. So it's really interesting. And then the question is, okay, how do we manage it? Because what's the effect of a wave when it's in? So then we can say, okay, what's the effect? Well, it's going to sweep through our auric field. It's going to start changing, altering the energies within our auric field and our field of energy. It's going to sweep through the physical body, through the chakras, through the meridians, through the channels, etc., etc. Then we put it to the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, all these other frequencies of being, so to speak, all being affected. And then off we go on this vibration change. So then we've got to adapt to it. And the only way we can adapt to it is when we're actually conscious that it's happening. Because we have a tendency, or in most instances, a wave has already come in before the mind is consciously aware of it. On a soul level, it's already aware that it's taken place. But a conscious mind, an everyday mind, a wave could have been in 3 to 5 days before the individual becomes conscious of it. They'd have had the effects of it and be swimming in the effects. And then all of a sudden, it's like the penny drops. You go, there's a wave in. Then it changes the game. And you go, right, now I can go into kind of treatment mode. I need to do this, I'll do this, do that. And then we find it's not plain sailing, but it's more manageable. Because clearly we know if the wave comes in, it will do one of 3 things. It will send the mind, our awareness, on the high, and that's why we start ascending, because we know it's part of the ascension process. And we start tripping on, the peak of the wave, so to speak, and our mind's elevated, excited, bustling with light and energy. And then as the wave's passing, then the mind slowly starts dipping, and it'll go into that middle neutral space over a period of time. And then when it dips and it pulls the mind down, it's almost like we then go into an abyss, what I call the psychic abyss. We enter into a psychic abyss because the wave has got to a certain point and our consciousness is riding it, and boom, and then everything's on top of us. Everything's constricted, and we're feeling heavy and dense and really, really, experiencing, on some occasions, phenomenal energy in that pit until we start coming out. But when we're in that pit, sometimes we're doing, some phenomenal work. We're clearing. We're doing the clearing process. We're doing self-analysis. We've got no choice. We're facing our own demons, so to speak, sometimes of different sorts, etc., etc. And then the next wave comes in, it passes, and we start coming up and go, oh, brilliant, I'm surfing again. And it's like, so, this is, as soon as the mind goes, these are cosmic waves, how can I adapt and change to them? Because it's about adaptation. And finally, I'd like to say what you pointed out, Tony, the alchemizing of energy. Cosmic waves gives us an opportunity, or gives the mind the opportunity to really be transformers of energy, because that's exactly what's taking place in its most acute way. And there's a big wave in, that's when most of the transformation takes place. And what's the transformation? The old into the new, the dark into the light. So we're transforming energy, and then from that we can say, okay, we are becoming more enlightened as that process takes place. And with that enlightenment, we know we're getting a greater sense of clarity, and therefore we can apply wisdom, or greater sense of wisdom, to our reality and how we exist as sovereign, authentic, cosmic beings. Don't know where that come from. Don't know what happened. Where am I? Did something happen? What just happened?
You just caught away. You did bring yourself forward. Yeah, I feel like hey Shanda. Sometimes I am too attached to the third world and FE. What's FE? Really win the gold card. I really like that one of the waves will bring me each. Yeah, bring on the gold card. I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds good. Yeah.
You are the gold card. Chanda, you are the gold card. Sometimes it's too attached to the 3D world. And okay, FE. We don't know what FE is, Chanda, but I think, yeah.
But yeah, let's just let the stuff bring the stuff to us.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're talking attachment, aren't we? That's what Chanda's referring to.
Yeah, that's it. And I feel like for me, you know, you mentioned the awareness before. For example, thanks, Francis.
Francis, thank you. we knew that really. We're just testing the wall.
You know what that just reminded me of? You know LOL that we use as an abbreviation all the time. My friend was saying that her mum used to put LOL at the end of like all of these things really randomly, and she said they just didn't make sense, and even really serious conversations with LOL. And she's like, "Mum, what are you doing? Why is this funny?" She's like, "I thought it meant lots of love." So she was just being really inappropriate, and she had no idea. Oh dear. Anyway. So yes, for example, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, being aware that you're in some kind of wave is really important, so that we can just treat it as like a detox, you know, so that you can just like not take it so personally, because I think that's a difficult thing, you know. Sometimes when I'm just feeling out of sorts, you know, I'm just like, oh, am I just getting too old, or am I just, you know, just not winning in this area, or if I made some wrong decisions. Like it's easy to start getting analytical and self-critical, and just being too overly concerned with, I guess, their ego. And so being able to just notice that these things are kind of, you know, a bit more cosmic than just us can help us to let go of that a bit. And I think, you know, if you're able to do a bit of physical detox at the same time, it just helps to, you know, let the body just keep that stuff moving, so that we're not having to digest any more than we absolutely have to. And the other thing for me is just having a really rock solid anchor. And, you know, I think it might have been the last chat we did that I was talking about the map that I have had of the body with the tendrils coming out from the spine. But then since then, I've had an extension of that, of noticing the tail. And when I first saw that, I was told that the midpoint of the spine was T7, but in the human spine there is no T7. And so I went back. Yeah, we've got L7. We've got L4 and then L5, and then it goes into the thoracic vertebrae. So there is no L7. And I was like, well, this doesn't work. And they said, no, but in your original spine, before you were manipulated, there actually was an L7. And so then when I was feeling into the spine, I thought, okay, this is weird, but why are we the only animal, or the only mammal that like doesn't have a tail? I mean, I know it would look kind of weird if we did, but you know, it just makes me wonder, because I think a tail is really quite a grounding thing, right? And I think we really do actually have an energetic tail. And so part of my anchoring is actually sending that tail right deep down into the center of the earth. And I feel like there's almost like a claw on the end of this tail. Like, this sounds really creepy and a little bit weird, I know, but but run with me here. Like, look at the animals in Avatar, and they had the tails, and the end of the tail would hold on to something and anchor onto something. Do you remember that?
I know.
Right?
I've never seen the Avatar. Never seen it.
Okay.
So
I
just want to I just want to, like, for those who are listening and observing, just like
this is a very serious conversation.
Yeah. I've often, hang on, Francis has just joined in. I've asked that often. Why not? Oh my goodness.
But it's true. Like, why not? Yeah, that's
Oh,
it.
it's
Okay,
Pauline
see,
as well.
we're
Pauline's
all
in
on
on
the same page. We're gonna have to start a new human rights movement. Like, bring back the tail.
Am I on the
So-
right show? What's happened?
Even someone on
Okay.
YouTube, I mentioned this in a recent video on YouTube, and someone said, actually, I've got a tail. And I was like, gosh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So anyway, but just imagining that you have a tail with a really weird claw that can hold on to the heart of the center of the earth is actually really anchoring.
Right.
You know? And so
Oh.
Not anymore.
No, I wouldn't advertise that on here, Francis.
Okay, I think we're going to have Francis on one day to talk about energetic biology. Well, I actually called my little chat yesterday cosmic biology. Okay. So yeah,
like, yeah, the tale of two tail. Okay. Oh, go on. I'm laughing because there's a reason. I've got a serious point coming up behind me. So,
okay, all right, all right. I can hear it coming.
It's waiting. It's like because I'm laughing.
Well, it's it's the point of your tail. It's going to come and
it's probably come up and I can feel it scratching the top of my crown chakra. It's like, it's whipped up behind me. Oh, guys, don't take us serious, whatever you do.
Yeah, hello to anybody that's just joined the room. So
we'll put the disclaimer on afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
So there was this guy.
Yes.
Many years ago.
Yes.
Real nice guy. I thought he had quite a beautiful mind, actually.
You're going to say quite a beautiful tail.
He might have done.
Okay, he had a beautiful mind.
He might have done. I didn't see it at the time. What was his second name? Scott somebody. Anyway, but he had a very profound interest in previous civilizations. And he made reference, and I've never forgot it. Now, I know we go back and we've got the Atlanteans, Hyperboreans, Lemurians, etc. One of them, or one of the others, civilizations or species on the planet, actually had three, what he referred to as three legs. But the spine, the one came out of the spine, and over a period of time, it got shorter and shorter and shorter.
Right.
Until we've evolved to this point. So that might that might sound crazier than what yours is, but that might actually be what you're somewhere on the ether of all things be making a reference to.
Maybe. So, and if somebody loses a limb, that they still have a phantom limb, and so the energy of that is there. And if you cut down a tree, then the auric field of the tree is still in its original form.
Yeah.
And I feel like we still have energetic tails. And I used to make costumes for dancers. And so I used to walk around the city at night with like 35 kilos of costumes in suitcases, wandering around 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I never had any issues, even though I was surrounded by nightclubs and guys that were, very, very drunk and on all sorts of junk. And I never had any issues. And it's because, one, I had a really strong sense of protection around me. Two is I felt like I had a tail. And if I felt like someone was just like their energy wasn't good, I'd just like pull that thing out and just like whack him across the head. And it really works. It's like you can really feel the energy of it, right?
This could fit why so many guys, when they get drunk, fall backwards and don't realize. They think they're going to rest on the third leg, on the third tail, and they're going to be okay standing, but then realize it's not there, and it's too late. They've already fell backwards. when the
I
big
thought it was just in Australia because they were associating too much with the kangaroos. She'll be right.
Oh,
But it's such a
interesting.
balancing thing. It's such a balancing thing, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it does. I can see. Yeah, I can actually see it. And ever since I heard Scott refer to it, and the way he explained everything about the way the physical body was during that period, it kind of fitted perfectly
Right.
with what he was saying. This third, an extension of the spine, what was resting on the ground. So
Right. Yeah, that's right. Physiologically, we have the root of a tail that over time we've lost evolutionary because we didn't need it. But I wonder why did we not need it, but why do other animals then need it? Because don't other animals like really require it for balance? So that's what I'm curious about. What made us evolve to that? And was that a natural progression, or was it the result of artificial, crossbreeding with our cosmic friends out there? Maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway.
I would, it's opening this up slightly. Because now you've got me thinking.
I do.
Speak for yourself, Francis. You've took the child away. You need the child to come back, Francis. Get that child back up inside you. Get up them trees.
That's it. Right.
I have the same question about. You mean about climbing trees, Francis? I think if we do go back. Wow, I can't believe I'm going to. No, I'm not going to say this publicly because if this gets seen, right, I'll swap it slightly and still make a reference. I just realised.
Okay.
Don't say that one, Colin. Well, I can get close to it. I had an experience on one occasion of what could only be called a prehistoric being, and it was clearly and distinctively of a certain size, height, and build, and ruggedness. What you would not find on the planet at this moment, unless it's hidden, maybe in
Antarctica.
Somewhere, yeah. But not out of the 6 billion what we see on the planet at the moment. And that we can probably then assume, which I don't like doing, obviously, that evolution is determined and dictated, because we have gone from that species to this. So, and as we've evolved, because we can see we've become more subtle, finer beings, when we go back through the stages of evolution. This is, I probably couldn't get, told off for this, but we can probably say, and it's not a good way to use, but I'm going to use it. I can't think of another one. The species looks more physically attractive now than what it would have done 3, 5, 10,000 years ago. As we understand it, everything was more kind of rugged and raw. So we can see the subtle change as we've evolved into this species. I don't know about you, Tony, but even when you look at the younger people, they look more subtle. There's something finer and more subtle about them than what there was, 50, 100 years ago. And we see this process. So maybe that third, the tail was clearly a stage of evolution where we've just, carried on, which in a way is really interesting, because if that's the case, if it's been natural evolution, it tells us that we're going to continue to evolve according to nature and not man during this time of change. Because a lot of people, we believe is, there's all sorts of variations and potentials what could take place in the coming years, that we could all be leaving the planet, etc., etc. But if we see evolution in this form, and it's like, okay, we're just going to continue to evolve Clearly, from my understanding, we're going to evolve already. It's happening into ethereal beings, which means we are getting lighter. We're eating less. We're looking after our bodies a lot more. We're seeing these as these temples and vehicles of pure energy, and there's more respect for them, or more respect given to them, especially by the healers and everybody around the world like yourself and so many others. Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting. I think it's an interesting point. So that's why I was laughing earlier. I thought, well, let's have a laugh first, and then I'll come to this. But yeah, we've got monkeys now. I'm a climber personally, or used to be. I can't read this. You read it.
Oh no, don't make. Francis, you're going to get us in trouble, love. I'm a climber personally, or used to be, but nothing like the monkeys I watched in India or Bali, which is a shame. I'd love to be able to move like them. Yeah, I'm with you. I always wished I was like a mountain goat. I just love the way they can just run all over these really steep cliffs. So, yeah, if I'm going to be an animal, I want to be a mountain goat. But anyway, I'm not. I'm a weird little human at the moment. So back to the task at hand.
Yes. So for those who joined us for the tidal cosmic waves,
we're just going through all the weirdnesses today. We're cleansing out all of our normality because we're hereby deeming it unnecessary. But I do want to come back to how we can actually surf the cosmic waves.
How can we save them?
Surf them.
Yes.
So we already talked about detox. One thing that I feel like is really important is part of the resistance to the waves, in my experience, is when we feel like we have to stick to a schedule. And, it's a lot more difficult for people that are in 9-to-5 jobs. But for me, it's like when something like this comes up now, I've just got to succumb to it. And as a few people have said already, just to not fight it. So, one of the things that I feel like we need to let go of is our Western perception of an actual schedule. And just to be gentle on ourselves and forgive ourselves for our humannesses and our little bits of weakness and other people as well. And just, we're all just to be fully accepting of the fact that we're all weird little humans just walking each other home. And some of these cosmic waves, they really bring out the worst of us. So,
I agree with
you. Yeah.
I'm just gonna. It's not often I do this, but I'm just gonna bring up, because I know there's something, and it's worth. If I can find it, it's worth bringing this into it, because here we go. Yes, it's stopped on the page. So this is, I'm quoting from the book now. I'm going to quote from the book because it seems to be appropriate.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so, and it's worth it because there is a section on, and it's quite lengthy, this particular section on the vibration change and how to kind of go through. And I'm not going to read it word for word, but first thing is to accept that they are constant, which means we're in a constant state of flux ourselves. If we know that, what happens to our mind, our awareness, it gives our mind a sense of flexibility, and it moves it slightly from rigidity. In a way, referencing what you've just referenced, Tony, where the Western mindset of having schedules and what's tight, etc., and routines, when we get it by a specific way, or if anybody gets hit or overwhelmed by a specific way, it is better to take time out from everything and let it do its course and take the benefit out of it. I mean, it's okay, Colin sitting here say, be gentle with yourself, because I know when they are seriously intense, that's it. You literally, like you said, on your knees, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you've got to kind of take shelter, take refuge within your own if you can, within your own inner light. But it's unlikely you find your own inner light at that moment, because everything can appear as chaos, and everything's a swirling mass of energy and uncontrolled. So then you go, okay, all I can do is go press the neutral button. That's a big thing. Press whenever you can, whenever your mind says get into neutral, then just go into neutral. Take time out, pull yourself away, depending on how you're affected. If you're capable of continuing what you're continuing on your routines for the week, then do it, but don't force it. If it's too much, then just go, this is too much, I'm taking time out, can't do this. Because that's where the resistance will come if you force it. And importantly, by forcing it, the mind doesn't get a total benefit of that particular wave. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is get in tune with these waves, so we can grab the potential of them for all of us, for ourselves individually, but everybody. Because they are part of the expansion and ascension process. Jay, I'm not even going to bother with that now, because there's too much in it, and I'm not going to read it word for word. But it's important when we're thinking about how can we ride the waves, what do? Give yourself time. Go into that stillness. You'll feel like the world's falling apart and crumbling upon the top of your head, on some occasions. Some is not as strong, but on some they are. If you can find it, as quickly as you can find it, go into the mode of acceptance, trust, like Tony said. That's such a huge word. Finding that trust, because sometimes when we're overpowered by a huge wave, we can get to the point where we can actually lose all hope, depending on how powerful it is. It can take us down to the bottom of that ocean within us. So we go, okay, there's going to be variations playing out here, which they do. The milder, symptoms of feeling lethargic, tiredness, fatigue, over and hypersensitive. We can be oversensitive to somebody who's said something and have probably been saying the same thing for several years, and it's never been effective to us. Then all of a sudden they say it, and we go, so there's all sorts of things. Just be mindful of them aspects, and that will help you get through it. And by going into neutral, what happens, and especially in between the waves, by preparing the mind and being in neutral as much as you possibly can in between the waves, when the high comes, we can ride it and get the benefit of it. When we go on the dip, we've got that added, not protection, but we've got that added energy, because we're prepared in a certain way, that the effects of the dips are not as strong and as disturbing to us as what they are if we've got no clue whatsoever what's going on. So a lot of this is more to do with understanding and being conscious of how waves actually work. So there you go.
Yeah, I've got one extra little bit to add to that, and to me, it's when I was doing studying counselling, when you're working with somebody on some issue or pain or whatever, it's never the whole person. It's always that a part of them is experiencing this, or a part of them feels like that. And so to me, it's easier to find more compassion for ourselves when whatever bit of us is feeling pain and discomfort and so on during those challenging times. If we can see that almost like our little inner child, and just imagine holding them. And I actually, when I was in Australia, I used to have a teddy bear, like as an adult, and it was just so it was actually incredibly soothing to just tend to this thing. I mean, I guess that's why so many people have pets, right? That you tend to that as your own inner child. And so being able to even just imagine, like just literally holding that part of you close to you and just like going, look, I know this bit really sucks. Okay, I've got it. It hurts. All right, so let's just hang out here. But I still love you, and just to be in that space of compassion for that part of yourself. And it's so incredibly healing, because once you can get into that space and just basically be your own best friend, then it really frees you up to make much more healthy and balanced life choices. Because, you know, it means that you're surrounding yourself by people on a resonance that you choose, not out of an addiction or a need, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my little closing bit. Be your own best friend, and then you can be a better friend for everybody else.
I'm not saying anything. I think that's the best way to finish on. Thank you, Francis, for that last one.
Change being constant has been my biggest realization. That lets everything that happens, particularly negative, have less effect on me. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Change is constant.
That's right.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and thank you, Colin, and thank you, Eva, for holding the fort and doing the awesome tech job as always.
Yes. Thank you, Tjoni. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. Love our chats or talks or discussion. I don't know what they are. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined us. The talk can take place if he wasn't here, but trust me, by you guys being here really makes it the most beautiful dynamics and energies. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit and listen to the phenomenally expertise and thoughts and opinions from Tjoni, and for listening to me waffle on like I don't know what. I'm trying to be serious, can't be serious. Thank you for the laughter, everybody. So what I'd like you to do now is all grow a third leg and get climbing them trees over the next week. That's for me. Thank you so much. So
have a beautiful evening, everybody. Lots of love.
Yes. May the force be with you. Keep shining. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.